Plates clattered, chairs scraped across the tiled floor, and voices tangled in the air. Kareem moved through it all with the quiet focus of someone who could not afford mistakes. He balanced trays on one hand, refilled glasses with the other, and kept a soft smile ready for anyone who met his eyes. At 34, he had learned how to carry more than plates. Since his wife's passing 3 years earlier, he carried homework schedules, grocery lists, and the fragile heart of his 7-year-old daughter, Elena. Every tip mattered. Every shift meant school shoes, rent, medicine for her winter cough. That afternoon, the restaurant was packed with well-dressed guests celebrating a business deal. Laughter rose loudest from a long table near the center, where men in tailored suits clinked glasses and spoke about investments and profits. Kareem had just set down a tray of drinks when he noticed her. An elderly woman stood near the entrance, dressed in a simple, faded coat. Her gray hair was tied back loosely. She seemed uncertain, as if the bright lights and noise pressed too heavily on her. Before he could reach her, someone bumped into her shoulder. Her handbag slipped. Her cane slid out from under her hand. She fell. It happened quickly, yet the silence that followed felt sharp. A few people gasped. More people laughed. Why would someone like her even come here? One man muttered loudly enough for others to hear. Another shook his head. This place isn't. Kareem felt heat rise in his chest. He did not think. He moved. He placed his tray on the nearest table without asking permission and hurried to her side. Kneeling on the floor, he spoke gently. "Are you hurt, madam?" Her eyes were clear, though pain tightened her expression. "Only my pride," she whispered. He helped her sit up slowly, ignoring the impatient looks from the suited guests whose drinks he had abandoned. He gathered her cane and handbag, brushing dust from the fabric with careful hands. "Let me help you to a seat," he said. "There's no room," one of the men at the business table called out with a grin. "We're full." Kareem did not look at him. He guided the woman to a small corner table usually reserved for staff breaks. He pulled out a chair and made sure she was steady before letting go. "Would you like some water?" he asked. She nodded. As he returned with a glass and a warm towel for her hands, the whispers grew louder. "He's wasting time. Manager won't like that. Overreacting for attention." Kareem heard every word. He felt the familiar sting of being looked down on, of being seen as less because of the uniform he wore. But when he looked at the woman's trembling fingers, the noise faded. He crouched beside her table instead of standing over her. "Did you come to meet someone?" She studied his face for a long moment. "Yes," she said softly. "But I wanted to arrive on my own." He smiled. "You did. You just H." A faint laugh escaped her. "You remind me of my son when he was young. He would never walk past someone in need." Kareem thought of Elena. He imagined her years from now, watching the world and learning what kindness looked like. He wondered what she would remember about him. "I hope he still wouldn't," Kareem said. Before she could answer, the restaurant doors opened again. This time, no one laughed. A tall man in a dark suit entered, followed by 2 assistants. The manager rushed forward, nearly tripping over himself. "Sir, we've been expecting you." The man's eyes scanned the room quickly, tension etched into his features. Then they found the corner table. "Mother," he breathed. The entire restaurant seemed to freeze. The suited guests at the center table straightened. The manager paled. The elderly woman's expression softened. "I told you I would come by myself." The man ignored the surrounding stares and hurried to her side, kneeling where Kareem had knelt moments before. "Are you all right? Did someone help you?" She reached for Kareem's hand and placed it over her own. This young man did. Now every eye turned to him. The businessman rose slowly. Recognition flickered across several faces. He was the city's most influential investor, the owner of half the buildings visible from the restaurant windows. The very deal being celebrated at the central table depended on his approval. He looked at Kareem, not with arrogance but with gratitude. "Thank you," he said simply, "for treating my mother with dignity." Kareem swallowed. Anyone would have done the same. A few uncomfortable coughs echoed from the laughing table. The older woman squeezed his hand. "No," she said quietly. "Not everyone." The manager hurried over, suddenly attentive. "Sir, please, we will arrange the best table immediately." The businessman shook his head. "We're comfortable here." He turned back to Kareem. "What is your name?" "Kareem." "Kareem, would you join us for a moment?" Kareem hesitated. He thought of the unfinished orders, the watchful manager, the mocking smiles that had only just faded. But he also saw something steady in the man's gaze. He pulled up a chair. The restaurant watched in silence as the elderly woman spoke warmly about how gently he had lifted her, how he had ignored the laughter, how he had listened instead of rushing away. Her son listened too. Then he asked about Kareem's life. Kareem did not speak dramatically. He mentioned his daughter, the long shifts, the dream of opening a small cafe one day where people felt welcome regardless of how they looked or what they wore. When he finished, the businessman nodded thoughtfully. "Kindness is rare," he said. "Integrity even rarer. I invest in buildings, companies, ideas. But today, I saw something more valuable." He reached into his jacket and handed Kareem a card. "Call my office tomorrow. I would like to discuss helping you build that cafe." A murmur swept through the room. Kareem stared at the card as if it might disappear. "I didn't help your mother for this," he said honestly. "I know," the older woman replied with a smile. "That's exactly why you deserve it." By the end of the afternoon, the laughter had vanished. The once confident businessman at the central table now approached Kareem with forced politeness. The manager's tone had transformed into exaggerated respect. But what stayed with Kareem was not the card in his pocket. It was the look on Elena's face that evening when he told her the story. Her eyes shone, not because of the possibility of a cafe, but because her father had done what was right when others chose to laugh. Weeks later, plans for a small corner cafe began to take shape. It would have wide doors, sturdy chairs, and a sign near the entrance that read, "Everyone is welcome." And whenever someone stumbled or spilled or felt out of place, Kareem would be there first. Not because of who they might be, but because of who he was.